You poor clueless old geek.
Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek, and welcome to my midweek live news stream where I've curated some articles and news and stuff like that for us to have a look at. I've got the Mako Star Wars theme running through my head, probably because I've still got this video on here. This. I've got that going through my head. I can't help it. Anyway, right. So, some news to look at. Got a variety of stuff to look at tonight. And Josh Temple's here already. Never fear. Maddie's here. Harpoon at the ready. But lurking in the dark with a capital D. And Windgrace is here as well. Laughing at my Star Wars thing. Right, so before we start, don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. Right, we're live on Rumble. Just let me check. What am I saying Rumble for? We're live on YouTube. Yes, we are. We should be live on Rumble if I hit refresh. I hope it comes on. Yes, we're live on Rumble. And we should be live on Twitch. Click that. Is that going to make it come on? Dunno what's going on. Press it again. Yes, I think we're live on Twitch. Right. So what else? Later on, I'll upload it to Spotify, Amazon Music Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Links for all the stories in the description. Later on, I'll put timestamps in and all that jazz. If you're watching live, you can always throw me some money either through Super Chat or Super Thanks or whatever. Or if you want to buy some merch, if you go on the YouTube channel, there's a merch store with T-shirts and mugs and whatever. There's caps, bags, I don't know, whatever they sell with the logo on. Oh, I haven't put the logo on, have I? Where have I put the logo? Or one of the logos. There we go. Let's have a logo on. Right, so let's get on with the news, shall we? I think that's it. I think that's all the housekeeping done. Oh, I'm also on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Links in the description. I'll plug my books again. Let me move some Blu-rays out of the way. Also, links in the description for my books. Silent Predator, a short horror novella about big cats, genetically engineered big cats, eating people in a North Yorkshire village. For what reason, I can't remember. It's a while since I've written it. I'm going to have to reread my own book. And Mercury Rapids, a light-hearted sci-fi action-adventure about UFOs and stuff. They're on Amazon Kindle and paperback. It's just a bit of fun. Give them a whirl. Put my DVDs back. Blu-rays, I mean. Right, let's get on with this news. Right, so let me full screen this baby. Oh, my God. Oh, crikey. I'm tired because I'm old. I'm an old man. Right, I feel it today. Let's add to stage. Here it is. First up from The Hollywood Reporter and Pamela McClintock. I bet she likes guns. I bet she's goes to the shooting range. Just that sort of name, innit? Box office meltdown, she says. I'm saying she, I presume it's a she. Furiosa edges past Garfield to win Memorial Day with worst #1 opening in 3 decades. Overall revenue for the 4-day holiday also hits a 29-year low, excuse me, as the early summer calendar suffers from an unprecedented absence of big tentpoles due to strike-related production delays. You know, excuses, basically. Isn't Furiosa supposed to be a tentpole? I mean, it's $233 million it apparently cost. Something like that, or something like 95 million or 90-something million from Warner Brothers and 130 odd million or something from the Australian government. Anyway, right, the memorial there's a still from the film, which I've still not seen, and I probably won't until it comes onto streaming. The Memorial Day box office is no picnic this year, but it was certainly a roller coaster ride. Warner Brothers Furiosa, is that big enough? Can you see that? Let me make that bigger. There we go. Warner Brothers Furiosa narrowly beat Alcon and Sony's The Garfield movie. There's been several. I mean, there were one out years ago, wasn't there? Did it have Bill Murray voicing Garfield or somebody like that? So shouldn't it be the all-new Garfield movie? Remember that were a thing in like the 70s and 80s on TV series. The all-new Scooby-Doo show, stuff like that. Anyway, whatever. With an estimated $32 million for the 4-day weekend, with George Miller's latest entry in the Mad Max franchise, doesn't have Mad Max in it, taking in an estimated $26.3 million for the Friday to Sunday versus an estimated $24 million for the animated orange feline. Yes, it was Bill. Yes, I've not seen it. I know sod all about Garfield. I do. Apart from there's a cat that likes lasagna. That's all I know about him. And you could get him with suckers on to stick on your side car window. That's all I know about Garfield. And Bill Murray were in this film. Garfield on Sunday. That actually sounds like a strip, doesn't it? You know, Garfield on Sunday, and then the little comic strip underneath. Claimed victory over Furiosa with an estimated 4 holiday gross of $31.9 million, but on Monday revised its estimate down to $31.1 million. Yawn numbers. Warner's took the unusual position of not reporting a 4-day number until Monday. With the race so close and the headline so bad, it's easy to understand why the studio remained mum. He hates Mondays. Is that another one? He hates Mondays. I know sod all about Garfield. Despite Furiosa's victory, why is that apostrophe the wrong way around? Weird. Are they all like that? I'll see if I see another one. No, there's one there that's the right way around. Why is that one the wrong way around? No, it's that apostrophe there. It's, where are you going? Bloody hell. So stupid bloody thing. Whatever. Despite Furiosa's victory, it still came in behind expectations and is the worst Memorial Day #1 opener since Casper debuted to $22.5 million nearly 30 years ago in 1995, and that's not adjusted for inflation, according to ComScore. This stat excludes 2020 when theatres were closed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember that? Neither film aced it with audiences, with each receiving a B+ cinema score. I've heard that the Furiosa's quite good. I've not seen it, but I've heard it's quite good. I've heard it's not the best film ever made, but I've heard it's entertaining. I saw Casper, not this. So I didn't see it at the cinema. I was hoping it came out on, probably on VHS back then. Yes, it'll be VHS. When I saw it, I probably had it on VHS at some point. Might still have it somewhere, don't know. With no holdovers to contribute in a massive way to the Memorial Day box office, overall revenue for the 4 days plummeted to an estimated $128.3 million, also a 29-year low, and down nearly 37% from last year, per ComScore. Has it been sunny in America? Has it been, the weather been nice and people haven't been going to the cinema? That excludes 2020 and 2021 when the pandemic was still raging. 'Cause remember it raging. Though Paramount's A Quiet Place sequel was able... Oh, God, I bloody hate that film. The first one was able to open to $57.1 million over the holiday in 2021. May has been a brutal start to the summer season as the box office continues to feel the impact of bigger tent poles being delayed because of last year's labour strikes. Marvel Studios usually kicks off summer over the first weekend in May with a superhero tentpole. Why don't they just bring back like B movies that are super cheap and they rattle off in a month, and then they can have like a store of films for emergencies that they can release. They don't have to be good; they're just there, available to put into cinemas. It's just a thought. I forgot what I want now. Marvel Studios usually kicks off summer over the first weekend in May with a superhero tentpole, and they're using that word as well, don't they? And this year it was going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. Marvel and Disney, however, had to push the film, which had to halt production because of the Film Actors Guild strike, back by nearly 3 months to July 26th. Neither Furiosa nor Garfield were ever considered to be the sort of four-quadrant tentpole, that word again, that generally anchors Memorial Day. Last year, for example, Disney's The Little Mermaid debuted to $118 million domestically. And I've not seen that one, and I don't plan on seeing it. Furiosa, a prequel that sees Anya Taylor-Joy play a younger version of Charlize Theron's titular character in the last film, had been expected to open to $40 million to $45 million for the 4-day holiday, but instead is the latest summer event pick to underperform in its launch. An exception was the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I wonder why, though, they were expecting not to do well. It's because Mad Max isn't in it. Because you think... I know Fury Road didn't do well at the cinema, even though it was like this Oscar-nominated film and stuff like that, and people tended to seem to like it, but it didn't do well at the box office for some weird reason. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they lowered expectations. But you'd think a film like a Mad Max film with all these stunts and action, you'd think they'd be hopeful it would make lots of money, wouldn't you? It's weird. In 2015, Mad Max Fury Road started off with a 3-day gross of $45.4 million in mid-May. Miller's new film, which also stars Chris Hemsworth, cost a pricey $168 million to make before marketing. Yeah, like I said, I saw on somewhere, somebody said that some figures had come out that Warner Brothers doled out 90-odd million and they got like 135 million or something like that from the Australian government. So not a huge layout. I know it's nearly $100 million, but, you know, it could have been worse for Warner Brothers. Anywho, overseas, Furiosa started off with $32.8 million from 76 markets for a subdued global start of $64.8 million through Monday. Blah, 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 blah. Who gives a monkeys about all these numbers? I don't care. Garfield, in which the title character is voiced by Chris Pratt, not Bill Murray, was financed entirely by Alcon. It cost a relatively modest $60 million to produce and opened in line with expectations. Overseas, where it began rolling out earlier in the month, The Kid's Pick earned another $14 million from 51 markets. Blah, 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 blah. The movie's performance has successfully relaunched the franchise, insiders say. Elsewhere, Angel Studios continues to try to emulate the stunning success of last summer's Sound of Freedom, another film I've not seen, but so far hasn't come close to doing so. This weekend, it is opening the Faith-adjacent film site, which is on course to gross an estimated $3.5 million for the 4 days for a 7th place finish. I think Bill was tricked into doing the chat one. I mean the first one, and wouldn't ever come back. Oh, I see. How many tricked? Hey Bill, come and read these lines into this microphone. It's for this thing. I'm not a huge Bill Murray fan, I've got to be honest. I don't know what people see in him. I don't know, but I suppose he's got a certain amount of charisma, but he just seems like a bit of an arsehole to me. In everything, it's just Bill Murray, isn't it? He's just everything he's Bill Murray, a dick, you know, basically. But not a likable one. Like Jim Carrey is is Jim Carrey in everything he's in, pretty much. Usually there are exceptions, but he's kind of a likable idiot, isn't he? But Bill Murray, not so much. Not for me, anyway. Anyway. We're looking at other films. Back in the top 5, that's that imaginary friend film, isn't it? Is that Ryan Reynolds, I think? Is holding firmly at number 3 in its sophomore outing with an estimated 4-day gross of $21 million from 4,000 and a bit locations for a domestic total of $63.6 million. Is that good? I don't know. The Family Pick's estimated 3-day gross of $16.1 million represents a 52% decline. Blah 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 blah. Is it just number? It's just numbers, isn't it? It's just numbers. So basically, the gist of it is, anyway, it's not been a good Memorial Day weekend for films at the cinema. Right. Previous version of the story incorrectly said it's been 40 years since a #1 Memorial Day movie up, so they've corrected that. Right, they've updated it. Right, okay, okie dokie. Right, so there you go. So why haven't you been to the cinema, America? What's been going on instead? Have you all been sitting at home watching the Trump trial? Could be. Don't know. Has it been on telly? I don't know. I don't even know what's happening with that. So there we go. So worst opening in 3 decades, 29 years, worst Memorial Day weekend. So pull your fingers out, America, and go back to the theatres and watch crappy films that nobody wants to see. Speaking of crappy films that nobody wants to see, I saw today The First Omen, which I quite enjoyed, but I didn't understand it. It's supposed to be, a prequel to The Omen from 1976, but it didn't make a huge amount of sense to me. But it looked nice, and it had some good acting in it. And one particular scene, were a WTF scene, but apart from that, it was just okay. Trump trial is not televised, just report. I don't know, fair enough. Fair enough. We're all broke, too broke to go to the theatres. Well, that's the way it is, isn't it, I suppose. You need to get Trump back in the Oval Office, because when he were in before, the economy were booming, apparently. I don't know. I don't vote for anybody, particularly Trump, because I'm not American. Well, we've got an election coming up here in the UK, which just snuck up on me, because I don't often watch the news, and I just changing the channels, and one of the news channels, BBC, came on, said parties begin election campaigning. I thought, oh right, so we've got an election coming up. Don't know when, no idea when. Maybe next May. I don't know. So we've got an election campaign coming up. So not that I'll vote. I won't vote. Oh, but people died so you could vote. Also died so I didn't have to vote. So there you go. Because they're all as bad as each other, in my opinion. Right, anyway. Moving on. What's next? Right, this next one's on Deadline. Here it is. Armando Tinoco. Cool name. Game of Thrones creator George R.R. Martin calls out most TV and film adaptations for being worse than source material. They never make it better. Yeah, they do sometimes. Jaws, for instance. Really good film, kind of a mediocre book. And there he is, silly old sod. Go away, articles. George R.R. Martin is calling out film and TV adaptations of books that don't live up to their source material, such as Game of Thrones, for instance. In a new blog post, the author recalls a panel with Neil Gaiman, that literary, I won't say it, kind of stole my story for Doctor Who, but, anyway. Not the story, but, ideas, maybe. I'm just guessing. Never mind. The creator of the comic book series Sandman, which Netflix adapted into a series, which I didn't watch. I think I saw episode 1. I thought, not for me. Gaiman was involved in developing the Netflix series, and although Martin didn't comment on the adaptation, he said that very little has changed since 2022. Only 2 bloody years ago. If anything, things have gotten worse, Martin wrote. Alec Guinness's favourite word in the Star Wars script. Everywhere you look, there are more screenwriters and producers eager to take great stories and make them their own. It does not seem to matter whether the source material was written by. What? Whether the source material was written by? Do you mean whom? Who the source material? Or who wrote the source material? Author. Anyway. Where are we? There we go. Oh, pardon me. Martin went on to cite famous authors like Stan Lee, Charles Dickens, Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, Ursula K. Le Guin, J.R.R. Tolkien, Mark Twain, Raymond Chandler, and Jane Austen. Didn't even mention me. Oh, they're under there. No matter how major a writer is, no matter how great the book, there always seems to be someone on hand who thinks he can do it better. He? Are you presuming their pronouns, George? Cancel. George. Cancel Grum. Thinks he can do better. Eager to take the story and improve on it, he continued. The book is the book, the film is the film, they will tell you, as if they were saying something profound. Then they make the story their own. Not necessarily. Yeah, I suppose sometimes that happens. Quite often it happens, but sometimes a book, just can't be translated to the screen. As in, we can't just take the text out of the book, the dialogue, and just plop it into a screenplay most of the time. Because it doesn't work like that, does it? They never make it better, though. Sometimes they do. Jaws, for instance. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse, he said. Martin notated... Did he notate, in the margins, that once in a while we do get a really good adaptation of a really good book, and mentioned he had come across the FX series Shogun. The creator of The House of the Dragon said he had read the 1975 book by James Clavell when it was originally released. Martin also cited the 1980 miniseries adaptation in the 1980s. What? Starring Richard Chamberlain was a landmark, and didn't feel the need to have a new adaptation. Is this written by AI? I suspect it might have been. I think, who is it? Armando Tinoco's not a real person, but an AI person. I forgot where I was. There we go. I am glad they did, though. The new Shogun is superb, he said. Better than Chamberlain's version, you ask? I don't know. I have not watched the 1980 miniseries since, 1980. That one was great too. I remember it, but I never got around to watching it because it didn't have spaceships and monsters and stuff in it, so I wasn't really interested back then. He continued, the fascinating thing is that while the old and new version, but for some reason I watched Roots. And you wouldn't think in mind, I mean, that came out before, didn't it? That was in the late 70s was Roots, wasn't it? But I did watch that. And they were even younger. How weird. And enjoyed it. And that didn't have spaceships and stuff in, and aliens and monsters. But it did have monsters in, but monsters of a different kind. He continued, the fascinating thing is that while the old and new versions have some significant differences, the subtitles that make the Japanese dialogue intelligible to English-speaking viewers being the biggest, they are both faithful to the Clavell novel in their own way. I think the author would have been pleased. Both old and new screenwriters did honour to the source material and gave us terrific adaptations, resisting the impulse to make it their own. Well, I'm sure in the book, as I've not read the book Shogun, that I'm sure they didn't have the Japanese characters, their dialogue in Japanese. I don't know, maybe they did. Maybe you had to learn Japanese to read Shogun. Was that it? Oh, right. Oh, right. That's a bit rich, though, George, coming from you, moaning about, not improving TV and adaptations. Because remember, you were complaining not long ago about people moaning about Game of Thrones, for instance. Changing your tune a bit, aren't you, silly old sod? Anyway, finish off writing your bloody Winds of Winter. Not that I'm going to read it, but lots of people want to read it. Just get on with that, will you? Get on with that. Silly old git. Next. Speaking of silly old gets, and I mean it as well, he is. He is, but I think he is. Because I'm one now. Here he is. George Lucas, this is from Fortune. Christian Hetzner. George Lucas, creator of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, calls risk-averse Hollywood creatively bankrupt. There's almost no original thinking. What is it with these... Yes, octogenarians. What is it with these octogenarians having stabs at Hollywood? Oh, cracker, that's a little writing, isn't it? I'll make that bigger for you. Hey, steady on. First there were sequels, then there were prequels. Later came reboots, spin-offs and live-action remakes. I thought I was going to burst into song then. Hello, Zerby. This is from the Twitch side, I do believe. Could be, might not be. It's not showing the chat on Twitch for some weird reason. I have no idea why. Anyway, whatever. Hello, Zerby. Welcome to the show. And Sci-Fi Quest is here as well. Yes, get on with it, George, he says. Get on with it about George R.R. Martin. Yeah, Twitch over here. Like I say, it's not showing the chat for some reason. Have they changed something on Twitch? I bet they have. Is that playing? I don't bloody know. It's not working properly for me, is Twitch, for some weird reason. God knows. I've got to say, recently movies are so dry. So there's not many very, very good ones. Lately. It showed the chat on our screen. Oh, right. It's doing it for me for some reason. Maybe it doesn't like me. I'm signed in, aren't I? I'm sure I am. Yes, I am. I can see my icon there. And the little thing says chat on videos. It's there is the, the column or whatever you want to call it, the sidebar, but there's just nothing in it for me. Hang on, it's playing a different video. That's bloody why. Oh, right. Right, is this on now? Saying I'm live with one viewer. Bloody Twitch. Right. See if that sorts itself out. Oh, there we go. Yes, it's come on now. Unbelievable. Right. Like Grey's Anatomy, says... hang on. Some TV series, they get to the point, they have so many series, it's so predictable. Says B goes on to say, like Grey's Anatomy has now had 21 series, or seasons, or whatever you call them over there. What is mental? 21 series, some of the original cast are still in the show after 21 series. Do they not get bored after like 10? It's like Casualty in the UK. That's been going on forever. And I think the last of the original cast might have just left, I think. But that's been going on for like, 30, 40 years or whatever. Anyway, so yes, where were we? Right, the last wannabe blockbuster, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, just bombed at the box office. I wouldn't say bombed, it's done below expectations. Is that class as bombed? Still made money. Well, whether it'll make enough money to cover its budget, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. Soon, two films will compete over nostalgia baiting as Eddie Murphy reprises his role from Beverly Hills Cop. But that's on Netflix. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. And Michael Keaton returns as the titular poltergeist. Is he a poltergeist? I don't know. In Beetlejuice, both based on movies from the 1980s. Beetlejuice, I've never been a fan. I always thought it was overrated, but, whatever. As budgets for movies, TV series, and even video games balloon into the hundreds of millions of dollars, the entertainment industry has sought to mitigate risk by investing in proven, bankable properties with built-in fandoms like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Harry Potter, and The Lord of the Rings. Zubby says, I've never loved Beetlejuice. It's so weird and the storyline makes no sense. No, it doesn't. So I've never been a fan of it. I can see why people like it, but it's never appealed to me. And I've always found it a little bit overrated. And I'm a Tim Burton fan. I like Tim Burton stuff, for the most part. Now, one of Hollywood's greatest icons who helped give birth to the sequel frenzy is savaging Tinseltown over its creative bankruptcy. I won't say helped to give birth to the sequel Frenzy, because there were sequels before Star Wars, and called the Planet of the Apes films, for instance. But anyway. Nobody knows what to do. The stories they're telling are just old movies, said George Lucas, speaking with France's Brut Media during last week's Cannes Film Festival. Attending as a recipient of this year's honorary Palme d'Or, sounds like an ice cream, doesn't it? The creator of Star Wars and swashbuckling archaeologist Indiana Jones, who sold his production company to Disney in 2012 for $4 billion in cash and stock, didn't limit his criticism just to the film industry. It's not just... For some reason, when I read that, in my mind's eye, I had that image, you know, from RoboCop 2, where they had all the money at the back of the van that they wanted to pay off old Detroit's debts. I just had an image of that. Anyway. Zerby asks, I have to ask, what are your opinions on the multi-series and multi-movie universe like Marvel? They have over 20 films and stuff. To me, it just seems a bit much, like when you've seen one alien battle. Oh, surely you've seen them all. Well, I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to Endgame, even though Endgame wasn't perfect. I think the one before it... Infinity War, I thought that were amazing, but I liked them up to there. I look forward to the new ones. Excuse me. But after Endgame, they kind of went a bit crap, didn't they? Although I did quite enjoy Shang-Chi, even though it was stupid. I did quite enjoy watching that. And I didn't mind Eternals, but I didn't think of it as a Marvel film. I thought, as a standalone like fantasy movie, if you take all the Marvel stuff out, I thought it were okay, but it was not a very good Marvel film. But I don't know if they'll ever get that wonder back. Not wonder. Sci-Fi Quest says, Axel F and Beetlejuice are trying to appeal to nostalgia and prove they don't have any original ideas. Let's say occasionally we'll get, you know, an original film. What's it? Well, that one, that new one with J-Lo, for instance, that's an original property, isn't it? Might not be any good, but not that I've seen it, but that's an original story, isn't it? Zerby says, like recently, Eternals, there we go, and Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, they are making legit no sense. Yeah, pretty much. As I said, Eternals I didn't mind, but not as a Marvel film. Shang-Chi I quite enjoyed, even though there was stupid bits in it with the bloody chicken rabbit, whatever the hell it was. And I forgot his name. Ben Kingsley. I didn't get why he were in it. And Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness were just baffling. It was just baffling. But it had Elizabeth Olsen, so it gets a pass because it's got Elizabeth Olsen in for me, and I'm a simp. Originals like Rebel Moon. Well, that's like original adjacent, isn't it? Oh dear, there was even another bloody long one. Yes, Wanda ran off and unlocked her issues with her spin-off TV series, which I didn't mind apart from the last episode, which was stupid. Then came back in the film to kill that girl to be able to see her kids, the non-existent kids that didn't. Oh, I don't know. But like the storyline makes no sense. She can't die, yet kills herself. But does she? There was that red flash, wasn't there, as it all were crumbling, spoilers. To save the Earth after Strange talks to her, even though she was trying to kill him. Doctor Strange, you see. Benedict Cumberbatch, was hypnotised by his silky voice. The storyline makes no sense. A lot of storylines make no sense these days because I think writers are just not as good these days, it seems. Because they're not. They're right. There seem to be writers with no life experience. The writers that have learned about writing in school, and they're just, blurting out scripts and story ideas based on things that they've seen, not what they've experienced. In the old days, there were people that had fought in Vietnam and Korea and World War II that had actual life experiences, or were police officers, like Gene Roddenberry, for instance. Anyway, Ben Kingsley was in it because he was, that's it, the fake Mandarin. I couldn't remember the character's name, the Mandarin. It made no sense. It was mental. Rebel Moon's not original. I know that's what we're laughing about it for. It's original adjacent. No, she does. It goes in Agatha's. There was a spoiler leaked with a dead body bag with a name. Oh, all right, I see. She'll be back. So it's another Wanda Maximoff. It hints that she dies. There's a multiverse now, isn't there? So there's like a billion, gazillion, an infinite number of any character you can imagine out there, isn't there? Anyway, back to this article. Crikey. Oh, I forgot where I went out. Yes, George Lucas. Getting his money off Disney in the back of a truck, like in Robocop 2. He didn't limit his criticism to just the film industry. It's not just in movies, but in almost everything. There's almost no original thinking. And then it's in French. J'étais à la plage à faire des châteaux de sable avec Steven Spielberg. Des amis m'ont appelé de son regard info. C'est là que j'ai compris que Star Wars était un vrai succès. No idea what that said. Anyway, right, the criticism is surprising, given Lucas practically invented the big-budget blockbuster sequel craze with the second and third entries in his original Star Wars trilogy. He later returned with a trio of prequels that were generally panned due to cringeworthy dialogue, poor acting, and an over-reliance on computer-generated special effects. They still made a bucket load of money. Did the prequels. But yes, they weren't as fondly remembered. But if you watch, particularly Phantom Menace, they're going about CGI in it, but there's actually a lot of model work in that, and miniatures and stuff. At the time, The Phantom Menace debuted in movie theatres. The first theatrical release of a Star Wars film in 16 years ensured it was a pop culture phenomenon. When The Force Awakens arrived at the end of 2015, there was still high hopes among fans for the trilogy helmed by Disney. And I think people generally liked The Force Awakens. Yeah, a lot of people said, a lot of people didn't like it. But I did. I still do like The Force Awakens. I know it's got problems and stuff like that, but I still quite enjoyed it. I think most people did. It were because it asked questions, didn't it? It in true J.J. Abrams fashion, it were a mystery box, and it left a lot of threads hanging, and they didn't do anything with those threads in the next film, so that's why people fell out with it. Anyway, she'll be back in Terry's Vision, as in capital V Vision, because Terry Metalis is doing the Vision series, so yes, I bet she'll be back in that. If not in person, in memory, Vision, I'll have a flashback or something. Or she just might be back in person. Where were we? In other words, both Lucas and Disney were at least offering a product where there was still plenty of demand. Now the Star Wars franchise, like many others, has been diluted with disappointments that cashed in on the IP without rejuvenating the franchise, and anticipation over upcoming new entries has since plunged. Nobody gives a monkeys about Star Wars anymore. Oh dear. I mean, who could care less about Rey and the Rey movie? Nobody cares about it, do they? Mandalorian and Grogu. Is that what it's going to be called? Because they've got Deadpool and Wolverine. They think they're going to Mandalorian and Grogu. Nobody cares about that either. There hasn't seen a theatrical release since the sequel trilogy completed with 2019's The Rise of Palpatine. The third season of The Mandalorian fared poorly last year because it was bloody awful. And Disney's Star Wars-themed hotel, based on its sequel trilogy, shut its doors in September after just 18 months amid a dearth of fan interest. Maybe if it didn't cost like $6,000 for a weekend or 4 days or something, maybe it might have done a bit better. And also it were crap. Disney CEO Bob Iger, in particular, has been called out for having gone back to the well once too often, plundering his library of content for more spin-offs and remakes rather than tell all new stories. Moana is already getting a live-action remake, despite only coming out in 2016. I didn't even like the bloody cartoon, to be honest. And Moana 2's coming out this year, isn't it? I didn't even like the animated version. I thought it was crap. Although were it a chicken or whatever, that made me laugh. But the rest of the film, it was poo, in my opinion. Now he has promised investors to prioritise quality over quantity after a need to drive streaming subscriber growth resulted in shows like Secret Invasion, the worst critically received Disney Plus MCU series, according to review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, because it was terrible, wasn't it? It was terrible. When Amelia Clarke turned into all the all the characters, just everyone, even her, she got a Drax arm, didn't she? Complete with his tattoos or whatever the hell they're supposed to be, somehow. So, God, it was crap. Critics will now be closely following box office forecasts for December's Mufasa the Lion King, an origin story to the beloved 1994 animated film, which itself got a live-action remake 5 years ago. When you say live-action, it means, a CG animated live-action remake. I mean, were it all CG, these Lion King films, or were like scenery and stuff, were that real? Like they did in, remember Dinosaur? That Disney film Dinosaur? A lot of the backgrounds and stuff were actual, real, live backgrounds, weren't they? But with the dinosaurs slotted in. Were the Lion King like that? I don't know. Or were it all CGI, like Avatar? No idea. At Cannes, Lucas explained that today's studios are too risk-averse to gamble on a new idea. If you go in and say, I've got something that you've never seen before and you don't understand it... By the way, I can't do a George Lucas impression. I can't do any impressions, but I can't particularly do a George Lucas impression. It's very hard to get a deal, Lucas said. The big studios don't want that. They want something that is like something they've seen because they don't have an imagination. But I said, studio suits have kind of been like that forever, haven't they, to be honest? But it's very rare that even back in the old days they'd take a risk. Anyway. Ironically, in the very same interview where Lucas bemoaned the lack of creativity, he admitted the idea for his magnum opus came in part from his childhood fascination with space opera Flash Gordon. Yes, he wanted the rights to that. Fortunately for moviegoers, he failed to secure the rights and in 1977 released his epic Star Wars instead, which we did in a special Magnificent Monday last Saturday. If you want to watch that, it's there on the channel, in the live section. Or if you look in the Magnificent Mondays playlist, it's in there. That it? Oh, right. What's Clarkson doing there? Oh, there we go. Yes, George. Like I said, you've room to talk. Saying that they won't take a risk. What risks did you take when you were the head of a studio? I don't know, I suppose you could say Howard the Duck were a bit of a risk, maybe. Anyway, right, let's move on. So that's 2 octogenarians complaining at Hollywood. Will we get another shortly? We will see. Who's going to moan next? Who's 80-odd in the filming? How old Steven Spielberg? He's not 80-odd, is he? I don't think, is he? I don't know. Let me check. I mean, George Lucas might not be 80-odd. I can't bloody remember. He's 77, Steven Spielberg. Worth $4.8 billion. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Right, next up. Sticking with George Lucas and Star Wars. This is a sad story. It's been going around the news. This is from the Mail Online. If I added it, wouldn't it? Dolly Busby, show business reporter. James Blunt says studio pressure to be thin for Disney Star Wars spin-offs led to close friend Carrie Fisher's drug relapse and death at the age of 60. And I think I remember at the time of her death, or round about that time, there was in some news report saying that she did actually spend that weekend before she passed away or whatever at Blunt's house. Because I think she was in London, wasn't she? She was on a plane back to America, wasn't she, when she was taken ill. She was at Blunt's house taking drugs or something, and they were kind of inferring that, you know, they were both at it. But I don't know. That was that's what I got from it, and I'm probably wrong. Anyway, right. James Blunt, remember the singer-songwriter, has revealed Carrie Fisher felt so pressured by the Star Wars bosses to be thin at 60 years old that it drove her to abuse drugs again, which ultimately led to her death. I mean, they did the same back in 77 when she was 20 years old, or nearly 20. She had a bit of puppy fat, didn't she, and they wanted her to get rid of that. Anyway, the You're Beautiful hitmaker was close friends with Fisher, famed for playing Princess Leia in the franchise, and lived at her house in LA during the 2000s when he was recording his debut album. Blunt, 50, told an audience at Hay Literature Festival, I don't know why I couldn't say that, I just knew that the day before she died, when she came back to my house, and she'd been really mistreating her body, and she just got the job again of being Princess Leia in the new Star Wars movies. So she's really on a high and positive, but they had applied a lot of pressure on her to be thin, which is what they do. So she spoke about the difficulties that women have in the industry, that men are allowed to grow old and women are not. I suppose so, but there's also a lot of pressure on men in the film industry as well to, you know, be in shape. Didn't you do this story about a year ago? Yes, as I said, though, I remember mentioning it a while back. I thought it were about the time that she'd actually died, which was, I can't remember, 2016. I think it was just before Rogue One came out, wasn't it? Anyway, he goes on to say, to James, she had to really put a lot of pressure on herself and started abusing drugs again. And there he is, singing, "You're beautiful." And there she is in The Last Jedi. So by the time she got on the plane, she had practically killed herself. They said it was a heart failure, but she had taken enough drugs to have a great party. Fisher died in 2016 with the autopsy revealing a cocktail of drugs including cocaine, meth, ecstasy, alcohol and opiates found in her system, which caused a cardiac arrest on the flight from London to Los Angeles. So, you know, had she been at a party with James Blunt and they'd all been at it, maybe he should have told her not to if he were there. Anyway. Speaking about the bizarre trappings of fame, Blunt alleged he was once threatened by the Pussycat Dolls boss at Interscope Records to stop sleeping with members of the girl band. The Wise Men singer said, "I'm a normal human being thrown into this bizarre scenario, being in the music business, and along the way, some astounding things happened to me." I've no idea that. Jimmy Iovine, head of a record label, sent a large man to tell me that he's going to kill me if I slept with the Pussycat Doll again. Well, it'd be nice to have that chance, wouldn't it? What's happened to her hair there? Have they done something with that? Is that real? It isn't, is it? That's been touched up, hasn't it, that? Her hair's not like that, is it? Anyway. I was just having a normal conversation with Robbie Williams, you know, name dropping, on one side and Shakira on the other side, and then turned to him and said, "Tell Jimmy to tell her not to F me, and then you won't have to kill me." Lovely. Do we any more? Was it just all pictures of Carrie Fisher and James Blunt, and I have no idea who that is. Sophia Wellesley. Married. Was married to an aristocrat. Blunt is alleged to have spent the night. That's it. No more about Carrie Fisher in there. Right, so So I think they were both at the same party that night, probably all popping pills and snorting cocaine, and he's saying now all this pressure, but not saying maybe he put a bit of pressure on her to have a good time, because he didn't know she was going to die, did he? The downsides of celebrity, I suppose you could say. Drugs and stuff are too easy to come by, aren't they? It's very sad. It's very sad. Right, anyway, so we'll move on, because that's depressing. I'll move on before James Blunt's solicitors get in touch with me. Not that anybody watches these. Enough to cause that to happen. Right, next up from Screen Rant, Liz Declan. How Andor Season 2 fits into the Star Wars timeline. Explained by Star. Adria, Arjona, I have no idea. I'll say Arjona. Not the duo owner, but I wouldn't mind, because she's very nice. Bix Colleen actress Adria Arjona revealed in a recent interview when Andor Season 2 will take place in the larger Star Wars timeline. Is that big enough? Make it bigger. Andor ranks highly among Star Wars' best shows and is a truly unique addition to Star Wars movies and TV shows. Yes, I really liked Andor. Yes, it was a bit slow with that Season 1. But Season 2 looks like it'll be picking up speed, because it was supposed to be, the stories are supposed to be originally 5 seasons, with each one taking place over a year and ending up, near to Rogue One. But the story is that they were told you've got to compress your last 4 seasons into one season. So they're going to do three episodes, then skip a year, and then have a passage of time, and then another three episodes set in a year later, and then another 3 episodes set a year after that. Right, anyway. In part, this is because the show focuses not on the Jedi, nor the Skywalker, nor the Skywalker family tree, but on the everyday citizens of the Empire who suffered during the dark times, including the show's titular lead, Cassian Andor. Now, Iona has confirmed when in the dark times Andor's second and final instalment will be. Well, we know. According to the Bix Colleen actress, we know, Andor Season 2 will be like nothing she has ever seen before in terms of narrative structure for a show. In a Collider Ladies' Night interview, Iona explained, quote, in between every 3 episodes, there's a year, and then there's 3 more episodes, then a year, and then 3 more. So you're seeing the evolution of these characters. Yes, I said evolution. Through such a large span of time, and I've never done that. Based on this description by Iona, I hope I'm saying that right. I thought Andor is the best since Rogue One. Pretty much, yes. Because, let's say, it's in that similar vein into its style and all that. It's like, Star Wars for grown-ups. Based on this description by Iona, it seems Andor Season 2 will span a large chunk of time in the dark times. Why do they keep saying that? And take Andor's character right up to the timeline of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, suggesting the plot to come. But we knew all this. The Andor Season 1 ending perfectly set up Season 2 to explore Cassian Andor's role in the Rebel Alliance, and Iona's comments regarding Andor Season 2's timeline suggest that this will be a major aspect of the show. After all, that number of time jumps during the Imperial era will no doubt reveal the incremental progress the Rebel Alliance was making, perhaps not dissimilar to how Star Wars Rebels charted both the Empire and Rebellion, attempting to gain the upper hand. However, for Andor, that path seems even clearer, and imagine we'll be seeing how work is going on the Death Star as well. Because we had that in the first season, didn't we? They were at the prison, they were building parts for the Death Star, weren't they? And we saw that being assembled at the end, didn't we? Spoilers. Andor was always going to lead directly into the events of Rogue One, requiring an exploration of what led Cassian Andor to become such a major player in the rebellion, such a significant player, in fact, that he gave his life for the cause. This is particular. Oh, did he? Maybe they were beamed out at the last minute because, teleporters are mentioned. Dear. I'm kidding. This is particularly exciting as it will be a brand new angle for Star Wars to depict. Even in Rebels, Jedi like Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger were prominent, and characters heavily linked to the Skywalker family, such as Ahsoka Tano and Captain Rex, remain critical. Andor is quite different, as it's a grittier show with a more boots-on-the-ground focus on the rebellion, but I forgot his bloody name now. I forgot his name. Oh, this Stellan Skarsgård character. Is he going to turn out to be some sort of Jedi, or at least a Force user? Because his spaceship has lightsabers. Anyway. I forgot what I want now. Seeing this period, have I read this bit? I'll read it again. Seeing this period in the Star Wars timeline from Cassian Andor's perspective will be fascinating and will undoubtedly reveal new details about the efforts of the rebels that ultimately enabled them to overthrow the Empire and two of Star Wars' most powerful villains along with it. While the exact story details remain to be seen, this update regarding the creative narrative structure of Andor Season 2 suggests how exciting this final instalment of the Star Wars show will be. But we've known this, is that it? Yeah. We've known this for ages, that it's going to be like that. It's not new. We knew it were going to be 3 episodes, then a time jump, and then 3 episodes, then a time jump, taking it up to... So I should bloody read the article, shouldn't I? I should do. I just read the headlines and think, that sounds interesting, let's see what happens. But we've known that for ages. So you're not telling us anything new, Adria. Is she named after the Ori leader? Don't know. How long ago was that? No, she won't be old. She's too old, isn't she? Anywho, let's move on. What's next? Hey, what's this one? Oh heck. Oh heck. I could be taking a risk with this one. Let's see what happens. This one's from Giant Freaking Robot. Zach Zagranis. The Rise of Palpatine. Ooh, crikey. Rise of Palpatine 5th anniversary gives us the opportunity to cut it some slack. I saw that headline and I thought, shall I risk it? Yeah. Zach Zagranis. Sounds like a character in Star Chaser, Legend of Orion. But anyway. This year marks 5 years since Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Palpatine, debuted in movie theatres and healed a fandom. What? No, it didn't. Just 2 years after The Last Jedi divided Star Wars fans, J.J. Abrams gave them something to agree on. Oh, right. Episode 9 sucked. It did. But not as much as Last Jedi, I must admit. But did it, though? After half a decade of somehow Palpatine returned memes, I think it's time to cut The Rise of Palpatine. I'll not call it that. Some slack. I'm not going to try and make the case that The Rise of Palpatine is secretly some kind of masterpiece. Even I agree that the movie is messy as hell, and that's putting it lightly. But you know what? It's also a fast-paced rollercoaster ride of a movie that's a whole lot of fun if you can shut your brain off. And that's what I said at the time when I first saw it. I said, everything's happening so fast, it doesn't give you time to think about it. It's just a blur of action, moving from scene to scene, and before you know it, it's over, and then you're like, oh, right. And then afterwards you think, but that didn't make any sense. Why did she have that dagger, and when were it made, and who did the lining up of it, and why did they just happen to fall into that place where the dagger was? Oh, etc. I know, shutting one's brain off has become the rallying cry of bad movie defenders everywhere. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Seriously, if you put Transformers Revenge of the Fallen on in the background... No. Hate the Transformers films. And pound tequila shots while scrolling through TikTok, it's really not such a bad movie. I bet it is. You just have to turn your brain off. That's obviously not what I mean about turning off your brain to watch the rise of Palpatine, although it helps. All I'm saying is that Star Wars is a don't think too hard about it franchise. Not really. No, it ain't. Because generally Star Wars kind of makes a certain sort of sense, but Rise of Palpatine didn't. If you're bothered by explosions in space, or you can't understand why Jedi don't use the Force to shut off their opponent's lightsaber mid-battle, maybe they do try that. Maybe they get blocked. We don't know what's going on, do we? Maybe Star Wars isn't for you. That doesn't mean that the Rise of Skywalker is above criticism or anything. Oh, Rise of Palpatine. Sorry. Is above criticism or anything, but nitpicking the movie about space wizards to death isn't really fair. Take Palpatine's return, easily the most controversial part of the Rise of Palpatine. The Emperor's sudden return smacks of desperation and an unclear idea of how to end the Skywalker saga. That being said, zombie Palpatine was awesome. It was terrible, in my opinion. I mean, look at him. It was terrible. And then all his finger ends wrong. How did he survive? This was supposed to be the same Palpatine that was thrown down by Vader. No! Thrown down that thing and the Death Star. And then it blew up. So, how? Don't think too hard about it. But then you've got to think about it, haven't you? It doesn't make sense. And how did chunks of the Death Star end up on another moon somewhere in the Andor system? The Rise of Palpatine added a previously unseen horror element to Star Wars. Palpatine's throne world, full of shadowy Sith alchemists and occult shenanigans that we'd never heard of before. And you could only get to through this narrow passage unless you were a fleet of good guy ships that just arrived. Why do you come from another direction? Space is like, in 3D. Obviously, J.J. Abrams is, he's not intelligent, is he? He's inexperienced as well. His pattern suggests two-dimensional thinking. Done it, win, Grace. Occult shenanigans were the coolest location in the entire sequel trilogy. No, it wasn't. It was terrible. For me personally, resurrected pulps looked like a deadite. Specifically Henrietta. Well, no, because that was bloody Ted Raimi, wasn't it? It was nothing like Henrietta from Evil Dead 2. Whether that was on purpose or not is debatable, but I enjoyed it regardless. Nothing like Henrietta. I felt the same way about the dagger that Rey uses to find the Sith Wayfinder. Was a dagger with the blade that lines up with the sunken wreckage of the Death Star stupid AF? Duh. Well, yeah, I mean, who made... What? Made no sense. How did she know she was standing in the right place? Was there a big X on the ground so she'd know where to stand? But it was also the Rise of Palpatine's way of paying homage to Indiana Jones. No, it was just stupid. And a similar conceit from Raiders of the Lost Ark involving a medallion showing the location of the Ark. No, it wasn't. It was just stupid. Nitpicking doesn't make sense. Well, you've got to nitpick because it's a stupid film. And again, what's J.J. Abrams got against space battles? He doesn't have any of his ships fighting in space. At least in Last Jedi, there were space battles. Stupid ones, but at least they had them. Sorry, I'm snuffling. The Rise of Palpatine is full of fun scenes that, when taken on their own, out of context, are good enough to stand next to anything in the saga. Palpatine bringing down a fleet of ships with Force lightning is badass. I don't care if it makes sense or not. I suppose you could argue, yeah, fair enough, he's Palpatine. That was the least of my problems with the fact that there were all this this fleet of ships were underground. Why? Why were they underground? Why didn't they just build them in orbit of this planet that they were on that you couldn't get to unless you had the Wayfinder? But yet Lando and all his mates arrived without the Wayfinder. But never mind that. Why didn't he do that in Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith or just enjoy the movie? No, because it's stupid. But that said, that was the least of the problems. The truth is, the entire Star Wars franchise is full of stuff that seems dumber the more you think about it, even the original trilogy. In The Empire Strikes Back, Luke trains with Yoda while the Millennium Falcon limps along toward Bespin. And now, without any books or other outside info, fans can either choose to believe that Luke only trained for a few days, or that the Millennium Falcon took weeks, even months, to get to Cloud City. Either way, something doesn't add up. Yeah, but that's just a time thing, isn't it? That's just a, how long did it take? That's not like something that doesn't make sense. Like I said, like that Wayfinder thing, getting to, I can't even remember the name of the planet. Exegol. There's only one way to get to Exegol, through that narrow passage. Even though you could come from another direction, but never mind. That doesn't make sense, but thinking about how long it took the Falcon to get to Bespin, well, that's just I wonder how long it took, because it doesn't tell us, and maybe it should have done. That's all they're trying to say. They should have shown a passage of time. They kind of did, because they showed them trying to fix. That were in. That were in. What it? Yeah, that were when they were on in the asteroid thing, wasn't it? When it showed them mending the Falcon. But anyway, no, it didn't show us, didn't it? So maybe they should have done. But that said, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a turn your brain off thing. That were a. How long did it take? Anyway, oh God, I bloody hate that Babu Frick. But I'm willing to bet that most of you reading this never gave it much thought, nor should you, because just like The Rise of Palpatine and every other Star Wars movie for that matter, The Empire Strikes Back is fun and shouldn't be taken too seriously. Well, no, none of them should. They're just films, aren't they? When all said and done. Look, I know that The Rise of Palpatine is a flawed movie. It's convoluted. It's not really convoluted. It's just stupid, bloated. It's not even bloated, because a bloated film outstays its welcome, and Rise of Palpatine certainly didn't do that. It's over before you know it. And incredibly dumb, I agree. But what can I say? The movie brings me joy. Well, you're easily pleased, mate. Zach Zagranis. If you haven't watched it in a while, give it another watch. I don't think I'll bother. And this time, try not to think of things like canon or continuity when you watch it. That said, I've said about the Eternals in the Marvel universe. I've said, as a standalone fantasy superhero adventure, I quite enjoyed it. But as a Marvel movie, in Marvel canon, I didn't like it as a Marvel canon movie. But as a standalone adventure, not connected to the Marvel universe, I didn't mind it. But I've only seen it once, so maybe on a rewatch, maybe I wouldn't get very far. Much like Ghostbusters 2016. When I first watched that, I thought, that's not as bad as people made out. And then I went back to it some time later, and I turned it off after like 10 minutes because it was crap. Anyway. I guarantee, says Zach, that if you are willing to take most of the scenes at face value, instead of constantly trying to compare them to the rest of Star Wars, you will have a good time. And if not, at least we can all agree that Babu Frick is cool, right? No, we can't, because Babu Frick is stupid. So there. There he is. And they even had one in The Mandalorian. It annoys me. It just gets on my nerves. For no reason. I just don't like it. Much the same way probably that Yoda annoys my mate. The mate hates Yoda. He thinks he's like a green fuzzy bear. And I can't even complain about him riding horses on a Star Destroyer, because in a story I once wrote many years ago, started. I once had them riding horses it was inside a spaceship. Well, it wasn't a spaceship. It was like a landing craft sort of thing. But it had corridors in it. They were riding horse through it. Anyway, so there we go. So no, I don't agree with you, Zach Zagranis. You can't watch The Rise of Palpatine and turn your brain off because it's a stupid film. Although it looks nice and it does go on a fair old clip, and before you know it, it's done. But it's stupid. There's so much stupid things in it that you can't bloody... In every part of the film, there's something where you're like, what? You know, the Force teleport thing, you know, where they're just between them two, they can pass objects to one another through the Force. And I know that were kind of set up in Last Jedi, wasn't it? But no, I'm not sticking up for it. I'm not going to justify how crap it is. So no, on its 5th anniversary, it's still shit. So there. Moving on. Oh, I'm on the wrong bloody screen. There we go. Getting me mad up. Right, what's next? Is it going to come on? Oh, Star Trek next. Right. Star Trek Discovery. Oh, marvellous. Although I'm quite enjoying this last season, for the most part. Well, I say enjoying. I'm not hating it. Is there a difference? New Star Trek Discovery series finale photos, Life Itself, by Trek Core staff. That's a funny name, isn't it? Right, Star Trek Discovery is from a couple of days ago. Star Trek Discovery's 5-season adventure comes to an end this Thursday. Yay! And today we have new photos from Life Itself for your review. In the series finale, Captain Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, finds out what's inside the progenitor realm. Have they got a realm now? After following Maul, Eve Harlow into the mysterious portal. Outside, Rayner, Callum Keith Rennie, and the Discovery crew face off against Breen forces, and Book David Ayala, is it Ayala? Yeah, whatever. Heads into danger to help Burnham from afar. Here are just 2 new photos from this week's finale. And look, Windgrace, Narn's back. Saru, Doug Jones and Narn, Rachel and Cheryl at Starfleet headquarters. Cool. Okay. Have they changed the uniforms? Or does she always look like that? I don't know. Let's make sure we're still going, by the way. Yep. Yep. And it's gone off again. It's gone on to me another video on Twitch again. Why does it keep doing this? Oh, it's baffling. Baffling is this. Stupid Twitch. Right. Anyway, right. See what happens again. Bloody Twitch. Anyway, right. There. Only a Sonequa in a whatever tactical clobber. Captain Burnham has one last mission. So is she inside the realm, the portal there? I have no idea. Right, Life Itself, trapped inside a mysterious alien portal that defies familiar rules of time, space and gravity. Something to do with the prophets, perchance. The Bajoran wormhole prophets. Captain Burnham, are the Bajoran wormhole prophets the progenitors? You know, have they evolved into them? Captain Burnham must fight Maul and the environment itself. In order to... So it's another... Basically, they're just doing the library again, aren't they? Really? In order to locate the progenitor's technology and secure it for the Federation. I bet they do. I bet they destroy it or something. Or leave it, you know, where it'll never be found. I bet they do. You know, nobody can have it. Meanwhile, Book puts himself in harm's way to help Burnham survive, and Rayner leads the USS Discovery in an epic winner-takes-all battle against Breen forces. And in case you missed it, here's a sneak preview for Life Itself from last week's episode of The Ready Room with... Oh, hang on. With... where is he? With...
Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton.
There we go. Well, I haven't used that for a while, have And the official Paramount Plus trailer for the finale as well. So shall we watch it then? We'll watch a clip. There's a clip and then the trailer. So what the heck? What the heck? I'll mute myself while we watch this.
Status report.
Still no sign of Captain Burnham from inside the portal.
Keep trying. Commander Jemison, can you get a transport lock on the portal?
Negative, sir. Still too much interference. It's the gravitational fields. Tractor beam is the only way, and for that we have to be in range.
Sorry, just interjecting. He mentioned Commander Jemison. She's obviously not her, the other one. Obviously named after Mae Jemison, who was an astronaut, an actual American astronaut who appeared in Star Trek The Next Generation. So I'll throw that in.
That'll take time. A lot of debris to navigate.
Anybody have any good news? Dreadnought's damaged from our trip through the shuttle bay. We still have some time before they're back in the game. I'm guessing not much. Where's Tahal?
Her fleet will be here in 60 minutes.
That's our clock. We need to get to the portal and be gone by then. Commander, Dreadnought's sending out fighters. At least 40 of them. All auxiliary power to shields to Ash to stay on the portal. Our mission does not change.
They're coming in now. Weapons hot.
Very good. But do they have rocks? Do they have rocks on the bridge when they get hit? Like they used to have in like Voyager and all that. Rocks on the bridge. And what's with the little flames and sparks? Have they got like flame and spark machines? They must have. Anyway, trailer for it. It's only 30 seconds.
Back off!
I have to go in there.
If I can bring locked up, I might as well be dead.
Discovery is running out of time.
Discovery, do you read? You can hear me. I made it through the portal.
And I cannot explain what I'm looking at right now.
So there we go. Oh, yes, I forgot to mute myself. I hope it wasn't echoing. So there we go. Star Trek Discovery's 5-season run concludes with life itself on Paramount. Plus, May 30th, follow the next day on Sky Showtime in other regions. I don't know. Does it come on a Thursday in the UK? I can't remember when I watch it. So, anyways, that's tomorrow. So there we go. I won't read the comments because I can't be bothered. So there we go. Who's looking forward to the end of Star Trek Discovery? Oh dear. Moving on. And what's going to be next for Star Trek? That is. Right, Doctor Who next. Now then. From the Houston Press, Jeff Browner. Doctor Who, what did the old woman say in 73 yards? There she is. Spoilers. Oh, well, there will be spoilers ahead. We learn that the old woman is actually Ruby Sunday. But anyway. It's likely that 73 yards... I'll make that right in bigger. There we go. It's likely that 73 yards will be the most divisive episode of this season of Doctor Who, thanks to its twisted plot and unanswered questions. The most pressing of which is, what was the old woman saying? Personally, I don't know if we'll ever learn what she said. I think it's just Russell T Davies thinking he's writing Lost in Translation. You know, the famous scene where Bill Murray again whispers into Scarlett Johansson's ear. We never know what he said, do we? I think that's basically what Russell T Davies is doing here. Anyway. Spoilers ahead. In case you wanted to avoid salient plot details, here's some trivia so you didn't waste the click. In the episode The Devil's Chord, the elderly woman who is killed by Maestro for playing piano was portrayed by June Hudson. She was the costumer during Tom Baker's run as the Fourth Doctor and was responsible for his iconic scarf. There you go. Didn't know that. I can't imagine anything would be satisfying. The Doctor shooting... Sorry, is it... How do we pronounce it now? Is it Nshuti? Nshuti Gatwa. And Ruby, Millie Gibson, land in modern-day Wales. What? where the Doctor immediately steps on a fairy circle made of string, bird skulls and handwritten notes. He disappears, and Ruby sees an old woman in the distance. No matter where Ruby moves to, the old woman stays exactly 73 yards away from her, repeating an incomprehensible series of hand gestures. We never learn what that's all about either, do we? And how did she stay 73? Is she walking, or is she like... Is she like gliding? Is it like they're just connected with an invisible tether, and wherever Ruby moves to, she's like dragging her along, so she's like gliding? I don't know. Ruby finds a few people willing to confront the woman. However, whenever they speak to her, they run away screaming in terror. Even Ruby's own mother, adoptive mother, changes the locks and disowns her daughter after confronting the woman. This continues throughout the next 7 decades. Ruby is haunted by this spectre that never attacks her, but which cannot be gotten rid of. Alec Guinness's favourite word. I'd say we're kind of a little bit like It Follows, wasn't it? A bit like It Follows, but in that, there's something, in that it's a horror film where basically death or whatever takes corporeal form as a figure that follows you around, and if it gets to you, it kills you. So it's kind of like that. It doesn't stay 73 yards away. Anyway, eventually Ruby uses the woman to trap a nuclear weapon-obsessed Prime Minister. The Doctor had mentioned him before disappearing, handily, who resigns in mad panic after speaking with the woman. And that were kind of like The Dead Zone, the film. I don't know about the books, I've not read it. The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken and Martin Sheen, where Martin Sheen plays a presidential candidate, and Christopher Walken's character, Johnny, can see, if he touches somebody, can see their future. And he shakes his hand and he sees that he's going to be a president that launches nuclear missiles. The missiles are flying, hallelujah, and all that. So he's got to kill him to prevent nuclear war. And that's a bit like that, isn't it? Who resigns in mad panic after speaking with the woman. Later, Ruby dies, and the woman finally comes closer, revealing Ruby was the woman the whole time. The time loop starts again. But that should have shown it as she was getting closer, though. Instead of it being 73 yards, as she got older, they should have said, "Oh, we're seeing that she's actually a little bit closer. She's gaining." And then she could work out, well, that means I'm going to die at such and such an age. So she'd know the day of her own death. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Anyway, the time loop starts again, but Ruby warns the Doctor about stepping on the fairy ring, averting the events that made the episode happen. But why did stepping on that fairy ring make all that happen? It doesn't explain that, does it? Will it in future? I don't know. Is Russell T Davies still that good? Remember Bad Wolf and all that? Don't know. At no point does the audience learn what the woman said that scared everyone so much, so we're left with speculation. It must be something incredible to make Ruby's mother throw her daughter out and Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, Gemma Redgrave, which I spelt wrong, abandon a companion of the Doctor's. Here is my theory. The theory of, I forgot the name, Jeff Rown. This season, going back to the Christmas specials, has been about the invasion of Lovecraftian deities from beyond the known universe, and which defy the laws of accepted physics. The things from Wild Blue Yonder, the Toymaker and Maestro, even the goblins from the church on Ruby Road, all have strange powers related to reality itself. Shifting and changing the matter of the universe with pure thought. Sorry. All of them are also summoned or called with intangibles. The 14th Doctor, 10 again, invoked superstition at the edge of the universe, letting things in. The Toymaker works through play, Maestro through song, the goblins through accident. I didn't watch that one. These are personifications of forces, specifically aspects of fiction and creation. The fairy circle is yet another portal the Doctor activates. In this case, I think what comes through is something I am calling the finish. In the podcast series The Magnus Archives, the paranormal happenings in that universe are the result of dread powers leaking into our universe through holes. These powers include the stranger, fear of things not quite human, the vast, agoraphobia and deep water, and the corruption, fear of disease, rot and insects. The most ominous of these is the end, which is the fear of death. In one episode, Dead Woman Walking, what is it? Is this something to do with Doctor Who, or is it just something completely different? I have no idea. Is the finish big? I have no idea. In one episode, Dead Woman Walking, there is a corpse that begins, proofreading, thing of the past, begins talking to student protesters. Every time it speaks to them, they have a complete mental shutdown, going catatonic until they die. One person survives. How long is this article? It's not going to go on for ages, is it? No, it isn't, right. One person survives by placing her hands over her ears, but she still hears the phrase, "The moment that you die will feel exactly the same as this one." It puts her in a coma, but she recovers. Obviously, the phrase itself has no power. I heard it in the podcast and I'm fine. And you read it just now and you're fine, I hope. The words... the words are not where the horror comes from. Oh, the words are not from where the horror comes, Jeff. It's the fact that something dead was able to look people in the eyes and reveal the meaningless of life and existence in a concrete way. No, this is just another random show. All right, fair enough. Just use it as an example. When people hear the term Lovecraftian, they think of tentacle aliens, but that's not really what the term means. It just means like thick beings from a realm beyond description, basically. That's what Lovecraftian means, doesn't it? Beings like Cthulhu are priests of the outer void, heralds of the knowledge that the universe is utterly indifferent to human suffering. Most people, when confronted with their insignificance among the cosmic vastness, go mad. One of the most terrifying of all the Lovecraftian deities is that Nyarlathotep, I don't know, who appears almost human but drives people insane by revealing the secrets of creation. And I suppose if you don't go mad, you'd become one of them, don't you? That's just my thoughts. Doctor Who has dabbled in Lovecraftian ideas before. The formless repeating thing in Midnight and the sentient sun in 42 are great examples of how the show handles these themes. In those adventures, we see how something intangible and strange from outside eradicates what makes us human. The finish came through when the Doctor stepped on the fairy circle and is one of these intangible powers, or at least an aspect of it. It's clearly centred around death and endings. Ruby connects it with a man who is implied to start a nuclear holocaust. She can only finally approach it as her own death nears. It removes the Doctor, who Lethbridge Stewart acknowledges was keeping a host of terrible deaths at bay. I believe that when people approached the old woman, she told them how it all ends. Maybe it was their own death, maybe the death of the world, or maybe it was the fact that they were all in the television show that will one day go off the air. I think we'll never know. Like I said, it's a lost in translation thing. The people who saw her recognised that she was Ruby, and they were instinctively afraid of her afterward because people fear death above all else. I don't think she said anything to him, myself. But anyway, the old woman was death, distant but never gone, and everyone who confronted her was exposed to the inarguable fact that they were going to cease to be one day. I think Kate realised there is no saving the world forever. The Prime Minister faced the consequences of his nuclear dreams, and Ruby's mother saw her child as the omen of her own mortality. It was a truth too cold to stand. I think this is a case, though, in this episode of, turn your brain off. Don't overthink it. I think that's what it is. I mean, why was she doing all this stuff? The hand signal, why? Doesn't explain it, does it? And also, there was snow involved as well, wasn't there? I know Ruby Sunday's got something to do with snow. I've seen people mention it snowing around her all the time. Anyway, it was a truth too cold to stand. The only reason Ruby was able to defeat the Finish is that it needed that time loop to operate. Ruby had just enough presence to warn herself before the Doctor restarts the loop again. Even then, though, the Finish wins. That Prime Minister will still get elected, and this time Ruby likely won't be around to stop him or have the means to do so without the old woman and her terrible knowledge. Not necessarily, the timeline's changed, so anything could happen. One must assume that nuclear holocaust is imminent. The circle isn't broken anymore, but if this season's themes hold true, I expect more powers like the Finish to leak out soon. Right. Interesting ideas. She makes it snow every episode in some manner. Yeah, well, I don't know because I don't watch. I watched the first one, it lasted 12 minutes, and then the only one I've watched all the way through of the Shooty Gatwa era is this one, and I quite enjoyed it because he wasn't in it probably. But it's an interesting theory. I don't know, it's a fan theory in it. But as I said, I don't know if all the questions will be answered. Why was she doing all that stuff? What did she say to him? I don't think it'll be answered. I think it's just left to our own imaginations. They're being what's the word? Ambiguous. They're being ambiguous, aren't they? And leaving it to the audience to mull over. So I don't think it'll be answered. This was also the first episode they filmed, by the way. See, trivia. And I don't think I'll be watching any more. Unless somebody says, oh, that episode was really good, then I might give it a whirl, but we'll see. Right. So very interesting. Lovecraftian things. Right, we're moving on to Battlestar Galactica. Now, hang on. These are not really news items, I suppose. But anyway, from Screen Rant, who wrote this? Rachel Ann Hannon. Why Battlestar Galactica's spin-offs were both cancelled after one season. So are they on about season 2, Galactica 80 and Caprica? What about Blood and Chrome and... Or another one, wasn't there? Or is that what I'm thinking of, Blood and Chrome? I thought there was another one, but I can't remember. Anyway, let's see. But that didn't get past a pilot, did it? Anyway, despite its huge success, Battlestar Galactica had 2 spin-off series that were both cancelled after one season. The original Battlestar series was a short-lived but cult favourite sci-fi TV series broadcast in 1978. The show spawned the spin-off Galactica 1980, which lasted just 10 episodes, because it was bloody awful. Apart from the final one, The Return of Starbuck. Fast forward to 2003, and a rebooted Battlestar series was testing the waters for the Sci-Fi Channel. Developed by Ronald D. Moore of Star Trek fame. The show went on to win a Peabody Award and 19 Emmys. It is considered by Time magazine to be one of the best sci-fi shows ever produced. Battlestar is now streaming on Amazon Prime. Is it? I hadn't noticed it. This is just in America. Not for free, anyway. I'm sure it might be there, but I bet you have to pay for the bugger. Here we go. There are also 2 Battlestar films that tie... Oh, right, in 2004 franchise. Razor and The Plan. Yeah, but there were Blood and Chrome as well. Because I've got it. It's up there. I've got Blood and Chrome. Anyway. With a history full of reinventions, a devoted audience, and a legion of impressed critics, Battlestar spin-offs could have done very well in the broadcast market. In fact, there were 8 Battlestar Galactica spin-offs in total, with most world-building already done in the original series and a host of potential storylines to follow from the 2004 reboot. A new chapter in the Battlestar saga should have had plenty of ground to cover and space to grow. However, both Galactica 1980 and Caprica 2010 were surprisingly short-lived. I quite like Caprica, I thought it was pretty good. Where are we? Transplanting, and there's the lovely, I've forgotten. But anyway, she played Asylum. Oh, never mind. Transplanting, Battlestar's dynamic yet philosophical feel left its spin-offs in a tight spot. Caprica was a prequel meant to explain the destruction of the 12 colonies. Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah. It was to explain how the Cylons essentially came to be, wasn't it? Because the outcome of the storyline is already predetermined, any prequel must find an innovative way to be surprising. The producers of Caprica were tasked with forging a unique look, identity, and target audience. Sorry, for their show, and unfortunately didn't hit the mark. Caprica achieved low ratings and proved to be a miss with critics, although I did really enjoy it. With several mysteries a Battlestar reboot could have solved, Caprica might have worked better as a direct sequel. As I said, it were kind of just getting going, which is kind of what happens, doesn't it? And they had to wrap it up really quickly. Galactica 1980 was created to fill the hole left by the original Battlestar from 1978. The main challenge with sci-fi is the expense required to bring it to life. Everything from costumes to props to sets needs substantial labour to be believable. This can be a big risk for distributors if the return isn't high enough early on. When they commissioned Galactica 80, ABC wanted the original look and feel of Battlestar with a smaller price tag. The lack of investment showed, and the tone of the show went from fun to outright silly, which proved to be its downfall. Because they set it in 1980 on contemporary Earth, so they didn't have to have all the, fancy sets or special effects, and even special effects that they did have were just reused. But anyway. With huge shoes to fill, is that one of the, I don't know. With huge shoes to fill and very little time to fill them, it's not surprising that Caprica wasn't perfect right out of the gate. Despite its issues, Caprica had promise. It had a unique subtlety that showed a deep understanding of the thread of tragedy that ran through Battlestar and its many devastating death scenes. Caprica took the time to psychologically develop its characters so their motivations, while ultimately flawed, became plausible, even reasonable. Caprica could have taken on important real-world issues if only it had gotten, I'm saying that word a lot tonight, out from under Battlestar itself. What made Battlestar Galactica special was its reimagining of humanity's priorities. Caprica couldn't live up to the original series' high standard of storytelling, and 1980 was ultimately hindered by its budget, but the franchise is far from dead even after these setbacks. Battlestar's upcoming reboot has a showrunner, with Mr. Robot Sam Esmail signed on to executive produce a new series for Peacock. What didn't work for broadcast TV might be suitable for streaming, and if a full season drops at once, there's no danger of a promising series being cancelled after only a pilot. Oh, that's it. And then moving on, I wonder why they didn't mention Blood and Chrome, which I quite enjoyed, that Blood and Chrome. Thought it was a pretty good little film. Set during the first Cylon War, I think, with a young Adam. Here we go. Again from Screen Rant. Brandon Zachary this time. Battlestar Galactica's upcoming reboot can't repeat the 2004 show's greatest trick. The upcoming remake of Battlestar Galactica won't be able to recapture the unique element that made the 2004 series so revolutionary. The first Battlestar Galactica was firmly of its times, a solid, if ultimately forgettable sci-fi series in an age where Star Trek was the industry standard. The remake of the show, well, I don't know, it was made off the back of Star Wars, well, Battlestar Galactica, because John Dykstra came along and did the effects, and some of the models they used were from designs. The Vipers and stuff were designs from Star Wars, essentially. Anyway. The remake of the show, which debuted in 2004, conversely became a critical smash hit that changed the way sci-fi is presented on TV. Unless you're my brother. I don't think my brother liked it. He didn't like that the Cylons looked like humans. He hates that. Bloody cop-out. Saving money. A hard reimagining that kept the inherent premise but introduced fresh takes on characters and concepts from the original Battlestar Galactica became a massive hit. Now, a new reboot of Battlestar Galactica is on the way. There's a number of inherent challenges to following up something like 2004's Battlestar Galactica. However, while it may follow in the tonal footsteps of the previous series, it'll have to figure out a way to approach the concept with a fresh perspective. This is especially important because of how influential the previous Battlestar Galactica has been on the sci-fi genre, since the next take on Battlestar Galactica can't repeat the biggest tonal twist of the original. It needs to find a different way to surprise audiences. They'll make that the Cylons created humans or something. The Battlestar Galactica reboot needs to escape the shadow of the 2004 version of the franchise, which radically reinvented what sci-fi on television could mean. There were plenty of dramatic sci-fi shows on television long before Ron Moore's remake of Battlestar Galactica debuted. Other sci-fi franchises like Star Trek balanced serious storylines with fantastical locations. Series like Babylon 5 expanded the scope of sci-fi storytelling, or like just ripped off Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. While shows like Firefly proved genre fusions could work. However, 2004's Battlestar Galactica was a game changer for the sheer grounded nature of the show. Although space travel and advanced robots were key elements of the series, the show was also a deeply realistic exploration of politics and power in times of crisis. Yes, it was. Its portrayal of the military was steeped in true-life inspirations. There were no unique aliens or bizarre locations. Visions of otherworldly powers were ambiguous, potentially the result of madness or sickness. Battlestar Galactica was a painfully grounded show that often turned away from the bigger, broader elements of the genre, apart from at the end. This was one of the things that made it feel so special when it was released, and what has made it so influential in the years since it concluded. Before the Battlestar Galactica reboot, sci-fi was often a blend of genres that always felt on some level to be fantastical. That was never the case with Battlestar Galactica, which influenced sci-fi and fantasy shows in general. That gritty and grounded approach to characters meant the show never lost sight of the very realistic challenges faced by characters. Since then, other sci-fi shows have followed a similar track and focused more on the gritty realities of living in a sci-fi setting, as opposed to the imaginative and colourful aspects. Sci-fi shows directly influenced by Battlestar Galactica, like The Expanse, Westworld, and Raised by Wolves, would likely never have made it to screens without the reimagining of the Cylon-human war. They didn't mention Stargate Universe. That was an obviously inspired by the new Battlestar Galactica, wasn't it? In tone and style. Big sci-fi franchises like Star Wars and Star Trek have directly adapted to this change in tone, with shows like Star Trek Discovery, which ends tomorrow, and Andor directly paralleling the more grounded elements of Battlestar Galactica. I wouldn't say Star Trek Discovery were grounded. While some shows, like the self-aware campy Doctor Who, have retained their own unique approach to the genre, spin-offs like Torchwood show how even they've been influenced. The modern, Torchwood were more grounded than Doctor Who, and they had swearing and sex and gore in it. The modern sci-fi landscape would be very different without Battlestar Galactica's influence. Excuse me. This does create a unique challenge for the next Battlestar Galactica remake, as it'll be tasked with escaping the long shadow cast by its predecessor. Is it me, or is this article just repeating itself, but with different words? Simply repeating the grounded approach would feel too familiar and basic, especially after 2 decades of sci-fi adapting to those elements. SGU would have been different, that's for sure. If not for Battlestar Galactica, yes. It might have been better, to be completely honest. I think they jumped on the shaky cam Battlestar Galactica handheld, thing a bit too much, and they lessened it as it went on, but it were too late, wasn't it? It were too late. Poor SGU, which is really good, which is sad. While the new Battlestar Galactica could still copy the overall bleak yet resilient tone of the previous show, it must do so from a new perspective. Whereas the previous series was heavily focused on the higher-ups within that universe, some episodes shifted focus to the challenges faced by regular people trying to survive in the dwindling human fleet. So I liked at the beginning of the new Battlestar Galactica where it basically had a clock thing, or not a clock, but a number of how many human survivors there were, and each episode were getting lower and lower, wasn't it? Oh, pardon me. The new series could remain more firmly with the more mundane people in the fleet, exploring the tense drama of the previous series from a fresh perspective. The new series could also indulge in a more expansive and hopeful approach, highlighting the character's search for a path forward instead of relying heavily on the interpersonal drama and tensions among the fleet leadership. Both of these approaches could keep the core tone of the prior show while allowing it a unique voice and perspective that separates it from previous iterations of Battlestar Galactica. I think it should just be like Star Trek, essentially. I think they should escape the fleet of ships, of 225 ships or whatever it is, escape the Cylons and head off into space and have adventures not connected to the Cylons. Maybe occasionally they'd come across them again at some point. But I think mostly it should be a Monster of the Week thing, like Voyager or the original Star Trek, as they're heading towards Earth. And that's what I think they should do. And make it a bit more upbeat and a bit more hopeful. And should say with each episode they're getting a bit closer to Earth. Maybe they could have something that shows that they are getting closer. And maybe they could have a setback or two, as they're going, but generally they're heading in the right direction. So that the audience can see that there's an end point and not be thinking, oh God, how long is this going to go on for? Like The Walking Dead, for instance. Anyway, so there we go. I'd actually forgotten that there were this Battlestar Galactica reboot on Peacock. So, but I think it'll be a while off that, won't it? I think it'll be a while. Right. Anyway, so there we go. So yeah, that's what I think they should do. I think they should make it more upbeat and more fun than Ron Moore's BSG. So like in between the original BSG and Ron Moore's, sort of like that sort of a feel. That's what I think. Anyway. Next up, it's from Slash Film. Oops, go away. There we go. This is from Slash Film. Moving on. Studio execs fretted over Star Trek Slander in the 1997 film Event Horizon, which we've covered on Friday Night Appointment with Fear. Check the playlists on my channel. From Whitney Seibold, obviously. Paul W.S. Anderson's high-octane sci-fi horror film Event Horizon, still his best film. Not his first film, but still his best film. I wish they'd do a more realised remake of Andromeda, to be honest. It's something I could never get into. I've seen a couple of episodes, but I could never get into it, Andromeda. Same with Farscape, I could never get into that either. So the things that I want to enjoy, and I could never get into. It's dead annoying. It's annoying when you can't like things, and you want to. You think, oh, this would be right up my alley, and then you're watching it and you're bored, you know what I mean? Anyway, Event Horizon takes place in the year 2047 when humanity is on the cusp of inventing faster-than-light travel. The title alludes to an experimental starship that went missing on its maiden voyage 7 years before the events of the film, when the Event Horizon mysteriously... proofreading, thing of the past, reappears out near Neptune. A team of astronauts is dispatched to investigate. Farscape gets amazing, but not until season 2. Andromeda had so much potential, but Sorbo got Wolf to leave. Don't know, because I don't know about it. But as I said, I couldn't get into them. En route to Neptune, the Event Horizon's designer, Dr. Weir, not Elizabeth of Stargate Atlantis, Sam Neill, explains to the other astronauts that his ship doesn't actually travel faster than light. That would violate the law of relativity. But it can bunch up space and pass through a dimensional portal. Weir illustrates the way his engines work by using a pencil to poke a hole through both ends of a nearby Playboy centerfold, folded in half. The Event Horizon folds space, passes through the head end of the centerfold, unfolds space, and appears at the feet instantaneously. The twist in Event Horizon is that the ship passed through an alternate dimension while it was travelling, and that alternate dimension just happened to be hell. Now that the Event Horizon is lousy with evil, the astronauts are subsequently tortured by demons and insanity. Human bodies are mutilated beyond recognition. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Ghosts of Mars, to be honest. But anyway. And people gleefully pull out their own eyeballs, just like in that Enterprise episode. It's a hard word to say, that violent film, but not as violent as it could have been. Because the actual footage of them, the crew of the Event Horizon, doing all that stuff to themselves and each other, is lost, and you're just seeing snippets of it on the screen. Good. In 2022, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Event Horizon, Anderson talked with Variety about its making, its violence, and how it, to both his chagrin and wicked delight, kind of violated the optimistic spirit of Star Trek. Event Horizon was distributed by Paramount in the United States, and Anderson recalls a Paramount executive pointing out with shock that they also put out Star Trek. Note that no one at Paramount complained that Event Horizon was knocking off anything in Star Trek specifically. The warp engines on Star Trek are different enough from the portal-based travel in Event Horizon that no one could be accused of repeating known sci-fi ideas. Additionally, the crew of astronauts in Horizon are friendly, crass grease monkeys, a far cry from the ultra-clean Starfleet officers of Trek. It's more like Alien, is Event Horizon than Star Trek, isn't it? But because Event Horizon was so gory and violent, Anderson encountered a small amount of consternation because Paramount's most popular space opera was known for its optimism, cleanliness, and adherence to peace and prosperity. Setting a Hellraiser-adjacent blood orgy in a starship seemed to rattle a few sensitive souls, Anderson recalled. Quote, someone actually said to me, we're the studio that makes Star Trek. They weren't only horrified by my movie, they felt I was besmirching Star Trek somehow because I was also in space and doing all this terrible stuff. Star Trek is also typically a very inspiring show, providing audiences with aspirational characters in a utopian world. Event Horizon ends with the idea that hell is closer than you think. It's a Neptune, isn't it? The director knew that his film was going to leave people feeling gross and nihilistic in perhaps another conceptual blow to Star Trek defensive executives. I don't think we were ever going to test great because the end of the movie is a bit of a downer. When you disturb an audience, they're not going to go, oh, that was an excellent cinema-going experience. But we delivered a movie that really stayed with people. I think that over time it's been appreciated for that. Yes, it has. Indeed, Event Horizon has garnered a massive cult audience over the years and has many defenders. Yes, it's a brilliant film. As I said, it's easily his best film, including, it so happens, many Trekkies/Trekkers. Is that it? Yes, that's it. So, yes, it is good as Event Horizon. But I said, we did it on Appointment with Fear a long time ago. It's a great film. It's a great film. So there we go. So, Paramount executives were worried about it. But no need. It's apples and oranges, just because it's in space, don't mean people are going to think they're the same thing, do they? Anyway. Right, next, and finally, yes, it is, and finally, gaming news. Because I'm something of a gamer myself. Oh dear. Here it is. Right, from the BBC. Call of Duty to go to Game Pass in gaming shake-up, says Tom Gherkin. Microsoft has torn up the rules of big video game launches by announcing its most eagerly awaited new title, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, will be available straight away to subscribers of its Game Pass service. Traditionally, gamers have had to hand over significant sums of money up front to buy big new releases outright. With the latest edition of Call of Duty, they will now have the option to pay a much smaller monthly subscription instead. Some people are suggesting that things like Game Pass, particularly Game Pass, rather than PlayStation's version of it, PlayStation Plus Premium, I think it's called, because that's not like Game Pass. You have some games, that you can download and whatever for no extra cost other than your subscription fee. But it's not usually the brand new games. Well, in my experience, it's never the brand new games. So, like I said, the Microsoft Game Pass seems much more better value for money, to be honest, than the PlayStation one. But I think I might have just gone off then for a second. I've come back on now, though. I'll start that again. GamesIndustry.biz head Christopher Drink told the BBC it was a significant move for Microsoft and the industry. I make sure we're still going. Yes, audio, says Wingrace, back. Yes, that said there was an interruption, wasn't there? There was an interruption. Let's make sure we're still going everywhere. Are we still going on? It's done it again on bloody Twitch. It's gone back to another video. I don't get it. It's baffling. Hey dear. Right, I've put it back on the live stream. Why does it keep going off? It's weird. Bloody Twitch. I don't even know why I'm doing Twitch. Oh, my Archmage Frey, that mysterious man. Where were we? I'll start again. GamesIndustry.biz head Christopher Dring, will ever get to the end of this sentence, told the BBC it was a significant move for Microsoft and the industry. The tech giant has previously made games available to Game Pass subscribers on launch day, such as 2023's much-anticipated Starfield. You had a new Twitcher today. Well, yes, somebody in the comments, but I haven't got any more bloody subscribers. No, still only 7 followers. Zerby, follow me. Subscribe to my channel. Where were we? Starfield, but has never done so with a release anywhere near as significant as Call of Duty. It is the 4th best-selling game series in history, topping 425 million lifetime sales and making tens of billions of dollars in the process. It is arguably the jewel in the crown of developer Activision Blizzard, which Microsoft controversially bought for a colossal $69 billion, then £56 billion in 2023. But rather than stick with a tried and tested model for selling it, Microsoft is gambling on a new approach. Call of Duty is by far the biggest game to go into a subscription service on the date is released, Mr. Dring said. Why has it got a different sort of bracket there? I don't know. It is a big test for subscription because if Call of Duty can't move the needle in terms of subscriber numbers, probably nothing will, he added. I've seen some people say that this stuff like this, like Microsoft Game Pass, is like that. That what I was going to say. It's like Netflix for games. It's like a streamer for games, and it'll put big game companies and stuff, eventually out of business because they won't be getting as much money as from people like buying physical copies or downloading, like through Steam or whatever. But anyway, right, Game Pass, much like Sony's rival PlayStation Plus service, lets console and PC players play hundreds of video games for a monthly subscription fee. But I think Game Pass has more games, or newer games, available to subscribers than PlayStation Plus. Both have been described as a Netflix for games, but remember Netflix were doing games at one point? Have they stopped doing that now? Is that still a thing? They were supposed to be dipping their toe in the games market, weren't they, Netflix? But I've not heard anything of it for a while. Is Gamefly still a thing? That was Game Netflix. I said, I don't know. That's what I'm just asking. I haven't heard anything about the Netflix games things for a while. Anyway. Both have been described as a Netflix for games, but with the caveat that gamers can download many of the games available to play on their own hardware rather than streaming over the cloud. They are extremely popular services, with Sony saying PlayStation Plus had 47 million subscribers in March 2023, while Microsoft said Game Pass had 34 million subscribers as of February 2024. Oh, pardon me. But that means, unless something changes between now and Call of Duty's launch, which does not yet have a release date, not one of the 34 million Game Pass subscribers will have to pay anything extra to play the new game. That means basically Microsoft, I know they own Activision, but they're going to have to pay Activision. I know it's like moving money from one pocket to another, but they're going to have to pay Activision out every time somebody downloads. They're going to have to work out how much it's worth for somebody to download the new Call of Duty game. Anyway. Well, they will, won't they? Because I suppose people who aren't members of Game Pass or subscribers to Game Pass will still be able to buy it over the Xbox Live or whatever, but they'll have to pay for it, won't they? It'll be like $60-odd or whatever. I don't know how much, £60-odd or whatever. So they'll have to pay that to Activision, even though they own the company. Microsoft will still have to pay that, won't they? That's what I'm trying to say. It's like Disney paying Disney Plus, if you know what I mean, or Marvel getting paid by Disney Plus for the films. You know, it's just moving money from one corporate pocket into the same corporation's another pocket. Anyway. This means Microsoft is taking a huge gamble, choosing to potentially cannibalise sales in exchange for, it hopes, a sharp increase to Game Pass subscribers. Mr. Drink said the move probably came down to an inherent problem with game streaming services. People simply don't play as many games as they watch TV shows, so it can be hard to justify paying to play one or two titles. Is that true, though? Gaming is supposed to be the biggest entertainment thing on the planet, isn't it? That's what I keep being told anyway. But with the addition of such a big game to the service, he said there may yet be changes coming to make the numbers work. It'll be interesting to see whether Xbox will introduce higher tiers to Game Pass or other monetization techniques to mitigate this, he said. One element which is unclear in Microsoft's announcement is whether gamers will be able to stream the new Call of Duty game or if they will be forced to download it. That's because when Microsoft purchased Activision, it had to make concessions to deal with the attention of regulators worldwide. In order to get the deal past UK regulators in particular, Microsoft agreed to give French game publisher Ubisoft the cloud streaming rights to distribute Activision's games on consoles and PCs. That means cloud streaming rights are decided by Ubisoft, so it may not be available for streaming when it launches. It also means the new Call of Duty game may ultimately appear on rival streaming platforms down the line. But the specifics of the deal are unknown, and it is highly unlikely PlayStation gamers will get to stream the game on the day it releases. But I thought because during this Microsoft buying Activision, Blizzard, I thought they'd come to some agreement with PlayStation that, you know, the Call of Duty games, particularly the Call of Duty games, were still going to be available, you know, on the PlayStation. It's not going to be, or is it just going to be like now? It's going to be like a timed, exclusive. It's going to be exclusive on the Xbox for, I don't know, a month or two, and then appear on the PlayStation. I don't know. But anyway, big news. So, but I don't subscribe to Xbox Game Pass anyway. When I first bought this computer, it came with a free month of Game Pass, which was kind of cool because it works on PC as well. So I downloaded, for instance, that Sea of Thieves. I downloaded that, and I said there's a video or two of me playing that. That were free on Game Pass, and also The Outer Worlds. I downloaded that and started playing that as well through Game Pass. But I let it lapse. I didn't. I didn't renew it when it expired. Pay enough to bloody PlayStation for theirs. Right, there we go. So anyway, so that's interesting. Gaming news. I'm going to look up this Netflix gaming thing while we're here. Netflix games. Right, what does it say? Netflix games. Well, there is a Netflix games website. What does it do? I've no idea. Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City. How do you play them? Are there mobile games? I think there might be mobile games. Oh, yes. Download on Android phones and tablets and iPhones. So it's still included with your Netflix membership. Yeah, the mobile games that you have to download to your phone or a tablet. Right. So you can't play it through Netflix. Right. So there we go. Right. Get rid of that. Right, we're done. That's it. All done and dusted. Yes, we are. We're all done and dusted for another week. So we'll leave it there. Right, what's coming up next? We're on Wednesday. Friday. Where are we? Friday. There we go. Friday, this week's appointment with Fear, we're looking at Overlord, the J.J. Abrams produced film, which is basically a version or a rip-off, I suppose you could say, of Wolfenstein, only not as good as Wolfenstein, in my opinion. But it's still a lot of fun. It stars Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's lad, in that. And it is a lot of fun. It's nice, gruesome World War II action, which is cool. Then on Monday, for Magnificent Mondays next week, we're looking at speaking of Eddie Murphy, like we were earlier on, we're looking at The Golden Child. So I love The Golden Child. A lot of people don't think it's very good, but I really like it. I do. And it did really well, so on its release. But not as well as they hoped, but it still did really well. So that's that. And Eddie Murphy doesn't like it for some reason. I think he'd complain more about Pluto Nash than The Golden Child. But anyway. And then next Friday's appointment with Fear. I'm ahead of myself. I usually leave it till the last minute, but I thought sod it. From Dusk Till Dawn, the Robert Rodriguez film starring George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis, and others. That starts out as a crime thriller and turns into something else down the line. Cool film. So that's what's coming up. ACS Fritz from S.H.I.E.L.D. No. Yes. Wyatt Russell. Yes, he was in. Is that what you're on about? He were in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, wasn't he? He were in that. Is that what you're on about? I don't know. Anyway. Right. So we'll leave it there. We're all done and done. So thanks, Win Grace, and who else? We had Zerby, and Josh Temple, and Sci-Fi Quest, and did anybody else pop in? No, I think that's it, isn't it? Yes. For keeping me company while I look at those articles. As I said, I'll be putting timestamps in. I'll be going through it, putting timestamps in, so they'll appear on the various platforms where you can use them. Some of them you can click on the timestamp, some of them you can't, but they'll be in there anyway. Right, oh, sorry. No, Fritz is another guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who is in Overlord, is he? Oh, Fitz. Oh, yes. What's he called? Yes, I know what you mean. Yes, I know what you mean. Yes, I know what you mean. Yes. I've got to look up his name now. He's got a long name, hasn't he? Castelli something or other. Where are we? I'm looking at the right thing here. Yes, I am. It's not showing it there. Never mind. Yes, I know what you mean now. Yes, he's like a Scottish chap or something, isn't he? Have a great evening, all. Yes, you too, Josh Temple. You have a great evening as well. I'm going to have to look this up because his name's getting on my nerves. I know he's in me. Where are we? Is it that one? Oh, I just made to pick the wrong one. That one. Yes. Ian de K-Stecker. I don't know how you pronounce it. Yeah, Ian de K-Stecker. I don't know how you pronounce it, but that's who fits, wasn't it? In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes. Right. So, anyway, we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, I'll say the